برادر کلک همشونو میکنی. یالا. آره
یالا زود باش، کار داریم میخوایم بریم. زود باش بجام، تازه اول کاره.
آره برادر کلک همشونو میکنی.
Nice.
Mona Mamounajad was a 16-year-old high school student living in Shiraz, Iran. She was arrested with her father on October 23, 1982. She was imprisoned for 9 months in Shiraz and interrogated many times. On June 18, 1983, she was sentenced and executed with 9 other Baha'i women. Her only crime was being a Baha'i. Mona's story has had a profound effect on many people. And one of these people, a composer and producer named Jack Lenz, asked me several months ago to write a song about Mona. And that began the Mona Project.
Okay, let's come down.
The whole Mona Project, as we are now calling it, started with a song. Doug Cameron has been a very good friend of mine and a Baha'i friend through lots of different projects. And I asked Doug Cameron, when he was staying at our home here, if he would write a song about Mona, the youngest of the 10 women who had been killed in Shiraz. He readily consented, knowing that it would be a difficult task. The song was originally called Mona with the Children, and I felt that he had captured a great deal of the sort of spirit of this girl in the song.
Save your life and throw your faith away. Mona with the children, send your love to me. All around the world we'll go dancing. Mona with the children, send your love to me. Every precious moment we'll be dancing. Every precious moment will be free.
When I was trying to write a song about Mona, I found it pretty difficult because I didn't have an idea that could express, I thought, very well what her experience would have been or what she would have wanted the expression of her experience to be. And then I got the idea of dancing and the idea that she was dancing and that we were dancing and that the world was dancing. And I found out later that when her sister went to visit her in the prison for the last time, Mona asked her sister to do her a favor, and that favor was that she would pray that Mona would go to her execution dancing. So I was pretty happy because this image dancing seemed so important to her in the song.
1, 2, 3.
Seals and Crofts were a very popular singing duo in the 1970s. They had hits like Summer Breeze and Diamond Girl and We May Never Pass This Way Again. They came to this project through an international Baha'i musicians conference in Costa Rica that both Doug Cameron and I attended. And we introduced them to the song Mona and to the idea of doing a video about Mona at that conference. And both Jimmy and Dash responded with a particular enthusiasm. So I felt that a couple of months later it wouldn't be too hard to drag them away from their families and bring them up to Toronto and have them work on the song and the video with us.
I'll tell you what, if you could turn the lead vocal down just a little bit.
With the children, send your love to me. Send your love. With the children, send your love to me. Send your love.
That poetically still says sort of the image. You know?
I think one of the reasons, though, Jack, that we kept coming back to the "You Gave Your Life," whether it's right or wrong, you know, was still the thirst to be able to sink your teeth into some kind of a setup. Because once, if the song is ever set up, then the rest of it you can do whatever you want.
I thought the main thing I was thinking of is you sacrificed, or you gave, or you gave your life, or you gave your heart. For me, it's not necessarily. I even put at one point I said you gave your life. She gave her life. You see, so I wouldn't have to say for me, or you know, something that just to get the thought across.
Why don't we straighten out the lines where you know the backgrounds are going to be singing, and let us get those down.
There we go.
We'll record
And then
those now,
you'll be free
and
to
then
do-
later on, as you go, you have your consultation and work out whatever you want to put on there.
Let's try something. Let's try taking those out instead of hearing them again.
Yeah, we don't need to hear the other voices.
We'll just do it the same thing again, and I'm sure it'll double better
And
than
don't
it is.
and don't ever do it again.
We'll just go like this. And they'll...
Okay, the whole double again. Here we go.
Send your love to me. Send your love dancing. Send your love to me. Send your love, precious love dancing. Every precious moment will be free.
All right, we feel that. It feels good.
Look up here. Don't everyone rush to look up. I know.
keep them all.
You are frightened because these
Rodney Charters is a director-cameraman who brought his own very special skills to this project. It was first in 1981 that I worked closely with him on a film called The Pilgrimage, and it was then that I saw his qualities of really undimmed enthusiasm and tremendous energy and vigor, and also his never say no or never say die attitude. He really sustained this project tremendously. He brought to it a quality that really kept it going.
Okay, let's put it on there. I want some more height, yeah. Almost 12 months ago, they talked to me about was the feasibility of doing a video about it. And at the time, we thought that really it wanted something much longer to portray the delicacy of what we felt was happening in Iran. And I think that just with the passing of time, it seemed to be more relevant and more possible. The whole tide of more political videos began to happen, and we felt that we really could do it. And then around Christmas, we all got together and decided, yeah, it really is time. And we sat down, and Jack and I worked out a script, and we had approval from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is in Canada. And then we sat down very carefully and said, well, we need to redo the song. So a date was set. We said we need to find critical things we had to do was find a Mona. And so Jack and I went on a trip to Los Angeles, casting for Roya here, who we found wonderfully. Turn around, tell these guys we found Roya.
They found Roya.
And she's playing our Mona.
Mark, 51A, take one.
One of the happier accidents in making this video was the discovery of Roya Mahmoudi, who played the role of Mona in the video. Not only was there a remarkable similarity in appearance between Roya and Mona, but there was also a special warmth and spirit that she brought to the making of the video, very reminiscent, I'm sure, of Mona's qualities, that made it more like a real-life experience than simply a recreated one. She also was very concerned about the authenticity and the accuracy of portraying the story. And I think that that was probably because her mother and father-in-law were abducted and executed in Iran in 1981.
Sharon Baldoni and her husband were on the phone, and they said, we have a director from Canada who would like to film a musical video regarding one of the Baha'i girls that were executed in Shiraz. And I said yes, and she said they want you to play the role of Mona. And at first I felt completely inadequate, which I still do, and because it is a very hard role to play. And I told Rodney, I said, you can come over, but I ruptured my disc and I'm lying flat on my back at the moment. So Rodney and Jack came over and they showed me the scenes and they played the music for me. And I said I would more than love to do this, and how about if I introduce you to some other 15 and 16-year-old girls first? So I arranged for him to see a lot of the Persian girls in the community. And then I received a phone call 2 weeks later, and they said I was it.
Come over here, both of you. Okay, you're fine. Now, you're going to lead her in. So I think you push her.
My mother-in-law has been, was executed, and my father-in-law was abducted. I'm trying to get a feeling of what the Baha'is are going through there. And it's really tough. People think so. We have the information about it. We hear about it. Not till you've partaken of it do I really think that you can feel what's going on. And I really feel that I've only gotten a glimpse of it, even though I've played out the role completely. What would go on in the mind of a 16-year-old, I don't know. Someone that fresh, someone who enjoys life that much. And yet Mona seems to be someone who is extraordinarily mature and very in tune with her beliefs and her understanding of what a human being is.
Mona, like her father, had a deep love for the Baha'i teachings. She also loved to draw and to write poetry. When the guards came to arrest her, her mother asked, "Why are you arresting a 16-year-old child?" The guard showed her mother one of Mona's poems and said, "This isn't written by a child. This kind of poem could set the world on fire." Mona's mother was imprisoned for 5 months at the same time as Mona. And when she came into the prison, Mona took her aside and asked her to do something for her. She said, "Mother, don't treat me in any special way. I want you to show your love and affection to all these other prisoners so that they won't think that I'm lucky to have my mother here. I want you to be a mother to all of them, just like you would be to me."
And we do it on the master. Do it from there. But I would like a close-up on the same thing.
In the written document that we have where the mullah asks Mona herself, "Why are you a Baha'i?" and she explains that in the Baha'i faith, we investigate the truth and our beliefs ourselves. It's something that I read myself, I find out about myself. It's not just because my parents are Baha'i.
And roll sound. Spit. Roll camera.
Mark it, Mark.
56, take one.
And hold it. And action.
And I think that's what makes her special, because this is something she has read about, something she's internalized, something she believes in so strongly that not even all the tortures she's seen, the interrogations she's been through, she's been able to tolerate it because of her belief, and alone her belief.
When they asked her what could she say, she said, "You can't break my heart, you can't take my faith away." And when they told her the price that she would pay, she said, "Take my life, take it all away."
Through the interrogation, that's where the strength comes to me. Just looking into that face and thinking that here they'd be with a 16-year-old and they give that much importance that they know that they can't get it out of any assembly members, any National Spiritual Assembly members, and now they're resorting to children. It's ridiculous. I've never seen him dressed like this.
Artin Mahmoudi is Roya's husband, and he came to Toronto to work on the Mona project for 2 reasons. The first was Roya. He wanted to come and support her and to help her through what was going to be a very difficult weekend because she had to play the role of Mona. And secondly, he came because he really understands what Mona went through. His own parents shared the same fate as Mona in Iran. They were executed. And we also managed to find him a role as one of the male prisoners in the prison scene.
My parents were both martyred in Iran. My father was the member of the National Assembly of the Baha'is of Iran, which were abducted in 1980, in August of 1980. And since then, we have not heard from them, and they're presumed to be dead. Subsequent to that, another National Assembly was elected, and my mother happened to be on that assembly. They were arrested in December of 1981, and 2 weeks later were executed. Baha'is are not suicidal people going around to try to kill themselves. On the other hand, they are very, they love this earth. For example, take my parents, they both enjoyed this earth immensely. They had 3 children which they loved and cherished tremendously. They had grandchildren. Both of them worked very hard in their achievements. My mother was a physicist, and she headed the Iranian Meteorological Organization for several years. She's done numerous scientific publications. My father was a lawyer, a television producer for children, as well as a writer and a poet. So both of them were people who contributed significantly to the society, to the culture, to the what we call the intellectualism, as well as the spiritual part of this existence. Yet, when faced with the question of whether they should recant their faith or give up their life, they realize that their life is only a temporary event, their body life, and this is only a transition. And the Baha'i faith was so much interwoven with their existence that to give up the Baha'i faith would be to deny their own existence. So rather than that, they gave up their life.
The roles of the 9 other women who were executed with Mona were played by Iranian Baha'i women. 2 of them were very unique in one sense in that they had both experienced firsthand imprisonment in Iranian prisons. They were Mrs. Mavadat and a young woman named Ruhi Jahanpur. Ruhi was in prison with Mona for 4 months. She was a chemistry teacher in Shiraz and had been imprisoned at the same time. She was released from prison and escaped from Iran through Pakistan and is now a Baha'i refugee living in Canada. She brought an unbelievable contribution to this project. She consulted with us all the way through and told us what the prisons were like inside and told us what the interrogation rooms were like and helped us understand why the guards would be dressed like they were dressed.
That was 10 minutes ago.
No. The thing Ruhi told me a long time ago, originally, we were told, that because the Mujahideen were bumping off all the guys in green fatigues, if they go out on raids or they're in the streets, they were getting shot and sniped and blown up. That they just started wearing street clothes.
Even with those things?
Yeah. Because this is, you know, you don't notice that really, no? He's just riding around in a commandeered car, and he's secret police, essentially.
The first time that I was arrested, I was alone, and they just took me to the prison, and then they put me in a cell. But the second time, I was arrested with my friend Shirin, and when we got to the cell, we found out that there are some other Baha'i women. They tied me to a bed, and they beat the soles of my feet. They just said, are you Baha'i? I said, yes. And they said, will you convert to Islam? I said, no. And again, they continue beating me for 74 lashes.
I think it would work a lot better, wouldn't it? Because we just see the whole back of your feet, just a massive red. Yeah?
You know, we've been working for 5 years, almost 6 years, ever since the Islamic Revolution in Iran, to try and bring the story of the persecution of the Iranian Baha'is before the public here in Canada and all over the world. It's a very strange experience coming back to Canada this week. I've just been in Geneva at the meeting of the Human Rights Convention, where the nations of the world have been drafting a resolution, another in a series of resolutions, aimed at trying to bring some reason to the actions of the Islamic government of Iran on the subject of the persecution of the Baha'is. And I think one of the most important impressions that I've come away with myself is the sense that the people of the world no longer are going to put up with this kind of persecution of minorities. You know, what was done with the Jews and the other captive people in World War II by the Nazi regime in Germany was done in the dark, and we only discovered it after the war was over. Well, doing this video on the story of Mona, one of the many Baha'is who we've picked out for this particular presentation, will change all that. It means that what is being done in the dark in prison cells and little courtrooms in Iran now is being shown to the whole world. And it's being shown while those persecutions are going on. And we feel confident because of what we've heard from governments around the world, from media, and from the public, that the people of the world are going to require the Iranian government to halt.
You guys do one more for me? Yeah? Now that we're here? Okay, we'll just do one more. Okay.
Ruhi had to relive her experiences. She had to be back in those cells. She had to be going through this kind of simulation of torture. She had to go on a bus ride, which I think was very difficult for her to go on. It was the bus ride which she never took. And it was a bus ride which took the 10 women to the gallows.
Ruhi and Mona's mother escaped execution. They were released from prison by the authorities, who hoped that they might lead to other Baha'is who could be arrested.
We're rolling. Here we go. Pace. Pace, cool up.
We chose Mona's story because she was the youngest of the 10 women who were executed, and also because she showed a particular kind of courage and strength. The man who drove the women to their execution told later that the authorities, in a last effort to try and break the spirit of these women and to force them to recant their faith, had hanged them one at a time. Mona asked to be last so that she could pray for the strength and steadfastness of the others. And when her turn came, she kissed the noose and said a prayer for the happiness of all humanity.
The issue is not to create a video that serves the purpose of antagonizing or even opposing either the government of Iran or the people of Iran. The purpose really was to let whoever, whether it's people of Canada or the world for that matter, who see this video become aware of a certain process that is going on.
Hussein Banani is a member of the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Canada, and he helped Rodney and I through the entire project to really to understand the spiritual principles involved in the video, in making the video, because we were in some measure representing the Baha'i faith.
You know, questions have been asked, and I think it's a legitimate question, namely as to, you know, why get so worked up about ideas that you're prepared to give your life? The other question is, you know, are these people really fanatics who are, you know, some kind of wild-eyed fanatics who are prepared to give their lives without really understanding what they're doing? I don't think that is the case. You know, Mona, like all the other recent martyrs, and I suppose even the early martyrs in the early days of the Baha'i faith, these people would rather live their life according to these principles and be able to serve humanity in so doing. Mona was performing a service within her community. The Baha'i children had been denied the right of access to their normal schools. So what she was doing is providing them with education in an extremely difficult kind of an atmosphere of where people's lives are constantly threatened and so on. She created a happiness, a joy in the lives of these children, tried to alleviate as much of the uncertainty that was in their lives, at the same time continue with their education. I remember really as a child myself, we were always taught the history of the faith and the 20,000 people who died for it in the early days. And we were told that now is the time not for dying, but for living. And Mona was brought up in that same kind of tradition.
Sandy, could you get the man for the turban, Darius?
Alex Rocco is a character actor from Los Angeles, California. He's been a Baha'i for several years, and he has played in films like The Godfather and The Stuntman and in various television series.
I play the part of the mullah who not only arrests Mona, but orders her execution. When they asked me to do this video, I wanted to contribute as a Baha'i and let the world be aware of what is going on with my Baha'i brothers and sisters.
He helped us tremendously with the people who played various roles in the video because most of them were non-actors. And so he helped them to understand their roles and gave them tips all the way through the weekend.
The first thought is very hard for any actor. He's making the transition from what they've done and then Mona with their children, she's free, you know, so it's like a whole transition of, at that point, when he looks up and the camera's going, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Canada was the first nation to speak out of what is going on with the regime and the clergy and the mullahs. In Malatost?
In Malatost.
In Malatost?
In Malatost.
In Malatost?
Mal.
Playing this part is most uncomfortable, probably the biggest heavy I've ever played in my entire acting career, and I've been doing it professionally for 20 years.
That looks really good. Okay, everybody, lift your chins a little bit up into the light.
Buffy Sainte-Marie is a singer-songwriter who I've had the opportunity to work with over several years as her musical director. She and I have traveled widely, and I think throughout those years she's had a chance to meet Baha'is all around the world. She's known about the persecution of the Baha'is in Iran for several years and has offered on many occasions her assistance, anything that she could do to help. So when we were doing this project, I knew that she would be invaluable to it, and called her and asked her if she would come. She readily and willingly consented and brought her very unique talents to this project.
I'm a Cree Indian. I was born in Saskatchewan, and I think that if I can be one more mirror who shines the light of this story out to the world so that people will find out what's going on in Iran right now, the kind of thing that shouldn't go on anywhere. It's Baha'is right now, and it's Iran we're talking about, but it really is the human story, resisting oppression. Then I'll feel like that I'm glad that I'm here and a part of this.
Send your love around the world. Soul's identity.
Danny Seals is a singer-songwriter from Nashville, Tennessee. He was formerly part of a group called England Dan and John Ford Coley, and is in fact the younger brother of Jimmy Seals.
I think it's important that people of the world realize what's going on in Iran, and I think the best way is to show them by this video of how the conditions are in the prisons and the plight of the Baha'is over there. And I was flattered to be asked to be part of this. I think it's a historical event.
Mr. and Mrs. Mahmoudi are Iranian Baha'is now living in Canada. They played the role of Mona's parents in the video, and in Iran, they were very close friends of Mona's family.
And I have lots of memories since she was a baby in my lap, you call it, or she was 13 years old when we left Iran. And there are sad memories when I see that child is killed, you know, just because she was doing a job that the government should do, you know, educating a group of children that the government throw them out of their schools. That's not fair. I can't take it. And I always say that is a sleep, you know, I'm dreaming. All these are dreams. But then I wake up, it's not dream, it's happening. And that is making me sick, really. It's very bad. Oh, I can't say what I feel, really. It's, I have shortage of English word, maybe. But it's right in my heart.
Mona was deeply in love with her faith and dedicated her whole life to serving humanity and to the cause of peace. Her story shows us that she wasn't defeated by her circumstances, and that the love that she felt enabled her to be brave in the face of great cruelty. At one point when she was in prison, she said to her mother, "Mother, if I felt that my execution would result in the youth all around the world joining hands and moving forward in service to humanity, learning about the Baha'i principles, and dedicating their lives to service and to peace," she said then that she would suffer 100,000 executions if that could be brought about.
آره برادر کلک همشونو میکنی الله آره
یالا زود باش کار داریم میخوایم بریم زود باش بجام تازه اول کاره
آره برادر کلک همشونو میکنی
said, this is where I've got to be. Taken in the night, her heart full of light. She said, this is where I've got to be. How can I tell you, how could she be so young to know the truth in all her dreams? To stand before them, to hear them say, save your life and throw your faith away. Mona with the children, send your love to me. All around the world, we'll go dancing. Mona with the children, send your love to me. Every precious moment, we'll be dancing. Every precious moment will be free. I can see her in my heart. The whole world was falling apart. She said, this is where I've got to be. A captive in the light, a love that burns so bright. This is where I've got to be. When they asked her, what could she say? She said, you can't break my heart, you can't take my faith away. And when they told her the price that she would pay, she said, take my life, take it all away, all away. Mona with the children, send your love to me. All around the world, I see you dancing. Mona with the children, send your love to me. Every precious moment, you'll be dancing. Every precious moment, you'll be free. Mona with the children,